Hello, and thank you for watching Moonstone Mountaineer. My name is Gina, and I'm very excited to have you here. This is actually my first ever video. I've always wanted to have a travel vlog. As an intro to myself, I actually live in Yosemite National Park, and I always travel both within the park and around the world with my partner Victor. The first place that I'd like to share with you today is our visit to Bass Lake. When we first decided to visit Bass Lake, we actually made that decision very last minute. So we didn't really make any plans beforehand, didn't really do any research. That being said, we did actually have a very fun time, and I'm excited to share with you several things that we discovered along our adventures that you can do at Bass Lake. And share with you some video and pictures. The first thing that I should probably explain to you guys are the roadways. When we first visited, we actually took the wrong road. It's not necessarily the wrong road, but you're going to get a completely different view, and you're not really going to get the correct access to things if you take the road we took. Even looking at this map of Bass Lake, you can't really tell that the eastern road, the 274, it actually is way above the lake, so you get some good viewpoints, but you're not getting any of the recreational areas besides like one or two picnic areas. So if you actually wanted access to the lake, if you take the 274, you're kind of going to get stuck going the long way around the lake. And when Victor and I did that, we ended up on some pretty windy roads that we could have avoided. When traveling the 222 north, the first thing that you come across is the spillway. This is a great place to park and get out and stretch your legs if you've been on a long drive, and you can actually walk along the spillway. I also saw a lot of people who were fishing from the spillway. You can kind of climb down on the rocks there, and it looked like a lot of people were doing that. Continuing further up the road, we saw people pulled over pretty much wherever they could park. We visited on a very busy Saturday in the summertime, so the lake was very crowded. We personally did not have any luck finding any parking along this side of the lake. However, we did enjoy the views, and we did see that there were several areas that you could hike, as well as not only picnic areas, but campgrounds. The campgrounds, when we drove through them just to take a look, they seemed very busy as well, but for good reason. They were very well located. Pretty much all of the campgrounds you could walk to the lake from where you're camping, as well as there were a lot of campgrounds sites that had room for larger groups or families. We actually ended up looping around and ended up on the eastern side of the lake. This was a good thing this time though, because we ended up taking Shore Road instead of the 274. We ended up finding parking finally over at the Falls picnic site, where we were immediately approached by a volunteer with the Sierra National Forest. The parking at this beachside site is $10, but it was well worth it. First of all, because this was the only parking we could find. Second of all, they had really clean restrooms and a really beautiful view. The volunteer was basically the little site attendant, and you could tell that he really loved that area and really took good care of it. We asked him if there were any good hikes nearby, and we were in luck. It turns out that we parked right next to the Willow Creek trailhead, which is a pretty long hike, but you can do just a short amount of it, and it's pretty fun. Even if you do that, and that's what we ended up doing. I'm glad I asked the volunteer about the hike because he informed us that the normal trailhead was closed due to a sinkhole. The temporary beginning to the trail was actually on a bridge, which was a little further down and a little sketchy to walk to because there wasn't really a pathway. Instead, you were just right next to the road, and it seemed like a pretty busy road, so it was a little sketchy walking down there. But we did find that entrance, and we got started. The trail runs alongside Willow Creek, hence the name. And let me tell you, this creek is just absolutely awe-inspiring due to how fast it was running and just how powerful it was. This past winter, the Sierra Nevadas received record-breaking amounts of snow, and due to this very heavy snow, during the summer, we have very heavy snowmelt, which means that the rivers and the waterfalls that you see in the Sierra Nevada are just absolutely gushing. The trees and the fauna on the trail also just gave this very magical and ethereal feeling as well. The trail itself was very steep in many areas, and that's why we ended up deciding not to do the full trail, even though it wasn't too long. Actually, after looking it up, the guide that we talked to said it was 7 miles, but it's only 2 miles. So I don't know what the truth is. If it was only 2 miles, I really wish that we had completed that trail. But it was a very intense trail, at least for. It was well worth our time, however, because of the beautiful views and just the overall peaceful feeling that came upon us. We were lucky enough to see one of the most adorable salamanders I've ever seen. But I didn't have enough time to pull out my camera before it scurried away. As we left the trail, you can see right where the creek empties out into the lake, which was pretty fun to watch because of how intense the water was. Next, we went back over to where we parked to enjoy the falls picnic area. There was this adorable little gazebo there that I was surprised no one was in, but I guess everyone was just having too much fun swimming in the lake. While we brought our swimsuits ourselves, we both decided to not swim in the lake because we felt like it was actually kind of gross looking, I'm not gonna lie. But there were plenty of people that did decide to swim. We had a lot of fun just enjoying being in the sun, enjoying the view, and just spreading out on the blanket and hanging out with each other. At the end of the day, this trip was very relaxing, and even though we didn't really plan on anything, we really lucked out on where we ended up, and I highly recommend Bass Lake for a very chill, very relaxing trip if you're ever looking for one. Some things that I saw other people doing that Victor and I didn't participate in is obviously boating. I saw people fishing and swimming, and those seem all like obvious lake activities, but I just wanted to mention it because even though it wasn't what Victor and I decided to do, it did look pretty fun if that's what you were looking for. Apparently there was actually a boat show going on at the time that we were there, so that might have contributed to why it was so crowded at that lake that day. But it also was just a Saturday, so it could have just been a busy day. Well, that pretty much wraps everything up, so thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you had fun learning about Bass Lake. And if you decide to visit, please leave a comment below about what you ended up doing, if you ended up doing anything that we did while we visited, and just have fun, you guys, and be safe.